The psychology of her power. The science of likability for magnetic women. There's something about her. You can't explain it. She doesn't overshare. She's not loud. She's not overly friendly. But people remember her. They lean in when she speaks. They respect her space without question. She's magnetic, and it's not luck. There's a psychology behind this kind of quiet power. In this video, we're decoding the real science of likability. Not the fake smiles or approval chasing, but the kind of likability rooted in self-trust, emotional intelligence, and inner congruence. It explores the invisible but undeniable forces that make certain women magnetic, not because they're the prettiest or most charming, but because they're regulated, grounded, emotionally intelligent, and subtly powerful. This is for the woman who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and still gets chosen. Welcome to For Every Woman XO, the space where you evolve into the woman who's always been powerful, just hidden in the shadows. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. Let's unlock her together. In a world full of noise, loud opinions, and exaggerated confidence, real magnetism feels rare and undeniable. Now, most people assume likability comes from being easygoing, agreeable, or bubbly, and while these traits are inviting and can draw people in, it's most times only surface level, temporary, or lacking lasting impact. The kind of likability that truly lasts comes from something deeper. Real likability, the kind that earns deep respect, genuine connection, commands presence, and leaves a lasting impression, isn't merely about being pleasant. At its core, it's about being centered. It's about how people feel in your presence. Let's break down the subtle, scientific, and behavioral traits that make certain women unforgettable without saying much at all. 1. Likability is rooted in emotional safety. The human brain is wired for connection, but also wired for survival. It detects safety or danger fast. That means we're constantly scanning people for two things: threat or safety. When a woman is grounded, calm, and emotionally present, others feel emotionally safe around her. When you meet someone, you don't think, "Do I like them?" You think, "Can I relax around them?" That's why a woman who is emotionally grounded and calm makes such a strong impression. Without saying a word, her presence tells people, "You don't have to be anything else here. You're safe. You're seen." That's rare, and people are drawn to it instantly. It just feels like stability, and your nervous system talks to hers without a word. We call this limbic regulation. It's when your nervous system influences someone else's, creating calm, trust, and connection without trying. While others come off anxious, chaotic, or overly eager, her energy says, "I'm good with or without you." And that's magnetic. 2. Magnetic women send signals without speaking. Non-verbal cues make up more than 90% of how we form impressions. Before you speak, people already know how to feel about you, based on what you signal through body language, tone, and energy. Magnetic women usually have controlled pace. They don't rush their speech or movements. Steady eye contact, not intense, not avoidant. Relaxed face and shoulders, signaling calm authority. Low emotional reactivity. They don't flinch when things shift. A strong sense of self. It shows in how they carry themselves. These signals speak louder than words. And they say, "I'm in tune with myself. I'm emotionally safe. I don't need to prove anything." 3. People mirror how you see yourself. The human brain has something called mirror neurons. They cause us to reflect the emotional state of the people around us. So when a woman is anchored in herself, when she feels confident, steady, and non-reactive, people around her begin to respond in kind. If you value yourself, others will too. If you question yourself, others will start to do the same. And if you're always adjusting who you are to gain acceptance, You'll constantly feel out of place, misunderstood and overlooked. Likability becomes unstable when it's based on chasing approval. But when it's based on self-respect, it becomes your default. 4. The power of boundaries and mystery. Let's be clear. Magnetic women are not unkind. They're just not overly accessible. They don't tell everyone everything. They don't need to fill silence. They don't expose their hearts to people who haven't earned the right to hold it. And that makes people curious. People value what feels intentional. And when your energy isn't freely available to everyone, it becomes more desirable. This is where boundaries create intimacy. You don't gain closeness by being overly available. You build it through earned emotional access. Key line to pause on. The less someone has to work for your attention, the less they respect it. The Likability Formula. Psychology plus identity. Here's where we bring it all together. Likability is not about being agreeable or friendly. It's about being integrated. Who you are on the inside is aligned with what you project. That creates congruence, and congruence is deeply likable. Let's break it down. 1. Emotional regulation. The most likable people don't react. They respond. When something triggers them, they pause instead of panic. That steadiness makes others feel safe in their presence. Emotional regulation is one of the most attractive traits a person can develop, and it communicates maturity, self-trust and composure. 2. Congruence. This is the match between your internal world and external expression. When you say you're confident, does your tone, posture and boundaries reflect it? When a woman's energy matches her words, people trust her, and trust leads to likability. 3. Boundaries. Likability without boundaries leads to emotional exhaustion. Magnetic women don't sacrifice themselves for approval. They make room for connection, but on mutual terms. This makes their yes meaningful and their presence respected. 4. Stable self-image. Likable women know who they are, and they don't shape-shift to fit in. They can adapt, but they're not malleable. They don't beg to be understood. They let their essence speak, and they let people respond honestly. 5. Discerned warmth. It's not about withholding warmth. It's about offering it with presence, with self-respect, and when it's real. Discerned warmth creates a sense of intentional intimacy. It signals that your presence is thoughtful and grounded in authenticity, especially when coming from a sincere woman. When warmth is given with care, people feel valued, not entitled. Humans are wired to value what feels earned or intentional. When someone is warm with discernment, it creates a sense of exclusivity and safety. Discerned warmth can build stronger personal bonds because the attention feels personal and genuine, not superficial or scattered, especially when it's coming from a woman with a strong sense of self. It mirrors the concept of reciprocal liking. People like those who seem to like them, not everyone. When people feel like they have to earn your emotional access, they value it more. Likability isn't about being easy to reach. It's about being meaningful to reach. Final thoughts. Stop trying to be liked. Likability that's rooted in truth, regulation and boundaries doesn't fade. You don't need to be everywhere or liked by everyone. You just need to be so anchored in who you are that the right people feel drawn to you and the wrong ones fall off naturally. It's not about trying to be liked. It's about embodying traits that the brain and nervous system naturally respond to. Safety, poise, boundaries, mystery, and congruence. That's power. That's peace. That's the science of likability. If this resonates, you're not here to be louder. You're here to be clearer. Subscribe for more videos on feminine identity, presence, and quiet power. And tell me in the comments, what's one trait of a woman you've always found magnetic and why? You don't need to prove your value. You just need to live from it. If you enjoyed this video, I suggest you watch this next. How to build your self-worth. Here I explain what it's like to validate yourself without arrogance and how you come home to yourself in power. You'll find the link in the description box below. See you in the next video. You are for every woman XO.